Morning everyone, this is Anthony Marinis from Marinis Dog Training and Behavior, and welcome to another episode of Talking Dogs in a Car. I just left a session where my client's dog is very, that is my car beeping right now, telling me that I'm going too close to the car in the front of me that was slowing down, and that if I didn't hit the brakes, it was going to automatically do it for me. So look at that. So, all right. So I just left a client. We're going to try that again. Just left a client that has a dog who's very reactive on leash towards dogs and people when it's out on a walk. And one of the other problems that they're having is that the dog is very reactive barking out the window. So the dog is looking out the window, constantly barking at people or other dogs passing by the house. And so after I left, I was just kind of sitting and thinking, and I realized this would be a perfect topic to just kind of discuss real quick, which is practice makes perfect. So regardless if it's a good behavior or a bad behavior, practice makes perfect. So that's whether your dog is barking out a window, maybe it started out as just your dog looking out the window, and then it turned into your dog constantly scanning and being a little more hyper vigilant. And then eventually the dog started barking, and maybe the dog started learning that barking makes those people or those dogs leave when they're passing. But the reality is that they were passing the house anyway because they were on a walk. And then the dog started learning to maybe practice and rehearse that barking behavior and that reactive behavior more and more and more, until it got to the point where it's at, where now with that dog, if you go and try and remove the dog from that situation, the dog will redirect onto the individual trying to move them. So the dog will actually redirect by turning around and trying to bite the individual who's trying to move them out of the window or get them out of the way. So practice makes perfect. So that's the same thing with teach your dog to come when called. You teach your dog to come when called if you work hard at it, and you start practicing in different environments, in more difficult situations, with more distractions, etc., etc., etc. Your dog over time will do better with coming when called. So practice makes perfect. So I was thinking about how my puppy Quest is an opportunist, and how she will, if she could, she would jump up at the counters and my kitchen table. And so I make sure that she is not allowed to do that by managing the hell out of her. And so sometimes when we are working with dogs, whether they're with behavior issues or just trying to teach a dog about how to live appropriately in our home, we need to implement certain management strategies and certain training strategies. So management strategies for my puppy Quest, for example, would be that she is not allowed to be in the kitchen alone, because if I leave her in there alone for now as a young 5-month-old puppy who can now reach my counters and my table, she is going to do it because she's an opportunist. So I don't want her doing that. So I don't just leave her in there by herself. And if she is in there when I'm cooking or prepping, food for the day or cooking dinner or what have you, I start teaching her how to live appropriately in that situation. So what I do is I have a dog bed in the kitchen, and she knows to go hang out in there and lay down politely while I'm cooking. So that way she's not learning to just jump up at the counter and beg or try and take the food that I'm trying to cook, because I don't want her doing that. It's actually a big pet peeve of mine. I hate it. Hate when dogs jump at the counter or at the table. So that's just a little tip of what I do with Quest for training. So I train her in that situation. And then in terms of managing her, when I am not in the kitchen, she's not allowed to just be in there by herself because she's an opportunist, and I have to make sure that I set her up to be successful in that particular situation, so she doesn't practice the jumping behavior. Because if I left her in there, she would practice the jumping behavior and continue to try and take food off my counter, and when she gets the food, that's reinforcing for her, which means that she will probably do it again. And so practice makes perfect. So I don't want her doing that. So I'm going to manage her. And when I'm in there, I'm going to be teaching her how to live appropriately in that particular situation. The same thing is true for window barking, like with my client's dog. So Quest would bark out the window if I allowed her to look out the window. Journey's allowed to look out the window because he just sleeps on the back end of the couch. Half the time looking out the window, half the time he just falls asleep up there, right next to the window. It's eye level, and he's fine because he's not that type of dog. He's not going to bark. My puppy is going to bark, and I don't really want to have to spend the time training her through that right now because I have more important things to do with her than that. So I just don't allow her to have the opportunity to look out the window, because if she did, then she would just start practicing the barking behavior. And again, practice makes perfect. It would make it a harder situation for me later on if I started allowing her to do that. So I want you to just take a step back and observe some of the situations that are maybe issues for you and for your dog, and decide if your dog needs to be doing that behavior, and if not, how you can start managing or training your dog in that situation so that way your dog isn't practicing those behaviors. So I hope this video was a little bit helpful for you. I know it was kind of broad in terms of my information because I'm just kind of shooting out little examples. So you may have to think about your particular situation for yourself. I'm pulling up to a client now, so I'm going to have to go. You can hop onto my website at myaggressivedog.com, behaviordogs.com, and you can follow us on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Marinis Dog Training. I will see you guys later. Take care.